Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Zach with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. If you stuck around after the game yesterday in our little instant reaction, angry reaction that is, everything I said still stands, right? I was listening to it back and trying to think, was I being a little overdramatic? And I really don't think I was, because I woke up this morning feeling equally pained and embarrassed. And I felt like I think we need to do a little bit more ranting about where this organization is going, what they need to do to turn this around, who's to blame, and why Daniel Jones is getting so much flack after his performance yesterday. Because, yes, he had a couple bad throws, couple bad reads, couple bad plays, but let's be real here. Do you want to know what his offensive line looked like? You want to know what they did to give him absolutely no time in the pocket? What his receivers look like? Because I don't think you want to go down that route, right? They had Colin Johnson, Dante Pettis, who they just pulled up from the practice squad, John Ross, who barely did anything, and Sterling Shepard, who was just coming off a hamstring injury. Kadarius Toney played 6 snaps before going down with an ankle injury. He had no receivers. His receivers were all backups, all reserved, except for Sterling Shepard, who obviously was still being hampered by the hamstring. His offensive line, Wes Martin, who was beaten to death by Aaron Donald, like clubbed Flintstone style by Aaron Donald. Matt Pert at left tackle after Andrew Thomas went down, and he was absolutely destroyed. Nate Solder, who we know is a turnstile. Billy Price, who whiffed on another block on a screen that I literally wanted to throw up all over my table. And Corey Cunningham, who I had never even heard of before this game. That is what Daniel Jones had to work with. And then you have Evan Ingram, who did absolutely nothing. Kyle Rudolph, who had a 2-point conversion, his first reception in the red zone this year. Talk about, people blaming Daniel Jones for this performance. The guy's coming off a big concussion. I'm not putting any blame on Daniel Jones. He's had a good season up to this point, and I think the people that are saying Daniel Jones played a bad game and it was his fault and all this literally have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about, because you have to look at everybody else. Look at what they did for him. Against the Saints, offensive line played their best game in years. Most of their weapons are healthy during that game, and they go out and they actually win. He has time in the pocket. He has receivers to throw to. He has weapons. I'm 100% confident that Daniel Jones would be a great quarterback if he was on Dallas with Kellen Moore and all those offensive weapons and elite offensive line play, if he was with Arizona and their offensive weapons, DeAndre Hopkins and whatnot, or if he was on, the Rams and he had a great mind like Sean McVay and they had a good offensive line. The Giants have done nothing, and I want to rip Dave Gettleman so hard in a minute for what he's done to this offensive line. I want to rip him so hard because, end of the day, it's an abysmal unit. It's one of the most embarrassing units I've seen, and it just gets worse every year. And even if it's a little bit better this year, it's still bottom half of the league, garbage, absolute, just disgusting. And Anthony, before we dive into this, and I'm feeling very, very aggressive today, as you can probably imagine right now, and I really want to just destroy some of these guys. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm not doing well. I mean, do you remember back in the day, think all the way back 2011-12 season where, Victory Monday, you would wake up on a Monday after a Giants win on Sunday and you just be like, I got to watch those highlights again. I got to rewatch that. I love this team. Let me watch the highlights one more time. And you would just keep watching them throughout the week and get excited for the next game. When was the last time any of you have felt compelled to do that? I don't want to watch highlights till yesterday's game. The Giants didn't have any highlights. Oh, they had a 1-yard plunge from Eli Penny for a touchdown. Okay. It was just an abysmal game. It was so difficult to watch. And that's how it's been for most of the past 365 days and even longer. For years, we've been watching the Giants play horrible football. So yeah, at this point, I think all the fans are at a breaking point. As I said in yesterday's video, I think there's going to be a lot of fans that stop tuning into games, that stop going to games. They sell their season tickets. When we were at the Falcons game even, everyone was so hyped to be there for Eli Manning and his celebration, and then they lose that game. And we heard people behind us saying, I'm not coming to another game this season. I'm not coming back to MetLife. I'm selling my season tickets. We heard that in the stadium. And sure, some people just say that out of frustration, but some people mean it. And there's a lot of people that mean it. And the Giants are going to see a downfall in attendance because they're not turning this thing around. This is not going to happen. They're not a playoff team this year. They are already in too deep of a hole. They've screwed it up royally. And to be fair, it's not all the coaching staff's fault. It's not all Dave Gettleman's fault. The players just can't stay healthy, and sometimes they don't even execute the plays, The play calling sucks. Yeah, it does. But sometimes there's some good plays, like that one double pass from last week that went over to Kadarius Toney, then to Devin Booker, and Devontae Booker, rather, and he just drops the pass, right? And he had 10-plus yards of space. And another thing with Devontae Booker, he's horrible. He is so slow. He touches the ball, and it's like he's got to wait 3 seconds before he starts to accelerate. He's like a 1965 Toyota Corolla. You just can't get moving downfield. He's so slow. And yeah, basically now I'm just nitpicking on specific players and ranting, but that's what happens when you just watch a bad product. You watch a bad football team play and compete. You just notice these things and you say, that guy sucks, that guy sucks, that guy sucks. Oh, this play calling sucks. This defensive coordinators are awful. This guy is horrible. That you just can't help but feel overwhelmed by all the negativity and by all the stinky football play that we're seeing from the New York Giants for years now. So, yeah, we're all at a breaking point. We're going to talk about Dave Gettleman today. It's time. He's got to go. I said 3 years ago he's got to go. I said even before he was hired he needs to be fired. I never wanted to see Dave Gettleman run this football team. And yeah, I was very critical of him. And then he turned things around. It got a little bit better the past 2 off seasons. Well, it still amounted to no wins. We got 1 win so far this year. So really it's amounted to pretty much nothing. All of the good that he's done, the bad severely outweighs the good, unfortunately. He tried to turn things around, do some good. The bad just simply outweighs it. And at this point, it's too little, too late. It's too far lost. And Dave Gettleman just needs to go. And probably the majority of this coaching staff and majority of management needs to go as well, because this football team, it's not even close to competing. And I don't think a turnaround is in our near future at all.
You know what? His parting gift to this team is going to be massive contracts that we can't get out of, right? He said to the next GM, and let me tell you how much money the Giants currently have in their salary right now. For next season, they have $2.7 million to spend because the massive cap hit of James Bradbury and $21.8 million is going to hit, right? And when that hits, we are so screwed. Leonard Williams, $27.3 million. Blake Martinez, $14 million. Adoree Jackson, $15.5 million. $12.2 million for Logan Ryan. $21 million for Kenny Golladay. If they bring in a new GM, he's going to be sitting there like, bro, I got to wait a whole year just to do anything. Just to do anything at all, I have to wait a whole year. Dave Gettleman actually pigeonholed himself into maybe saving his own job because John Mara's looking at it like, holy crap, this guy just stuck himself in a position where like I can't even fire the guy, because the money is so bad. What are they going to do? Go to get a new GM? He's going to have nothing to do. The only thing he can do, and this is why they still need to get rid of Dave Gettleman. That's the purpose of this video. The main reason they need to get rid of Dave Gettleman is this. They cannot allow him to continue drafting for the Giants. That is why they cannot continue on with Dave Gettleman. They need to bring in somebody new because clearly the methodology, clearly the idea that you have to be, have to overspend on interior defensive linemen. You have to spend, $27.5 million cap hit on Leonard Williams, a top 20 pick on Dexter Lawrence, and then you have zero pass rush. Lorenzo Carter, Azeez Ojulari, Ocean Ximenez had 0 pressures against the Rams combined. How does that make you feel? It makes me feel like the guy has no idea what the hell he's doing. And I like Azeez Ojulari. I think he's going to be a solid player in the long term, but he needs a lot more time to grow. And that's kind of ultimately where we're at right now. 0 pressures against the Rams. Leonard Williams looked great, by the way. I think he had a sack or 2. He had 2 sacks. Like he was a good player yesterday, but he was the only one that showed me any sort of effort. I think he's a solid player. He's overpaid, but he's a solid player for the most part. But the thing is, the Giants can't be investing so much on interior defensive line. That is an old school mentality. You need to have those big run stoppers there and have good edge presence, right? You cannot be depending on your A and B gappers to be putting pressure consistently on opposing teams. Like that's not how the NFL is built anymore. You need to have strong edge presence. You need to have those guys like Matt Judon. You need to have those guys like even Randy Gregory for Dallas, who's kicking ass this year. I know he's a shitty human being, but he's playing well. So like it's end of the day, like the Giants, they're the way they're building this roster is not good enough, right? I don't know why this defense took such a big step forward, but maybe it was because there was no sound in the stadiums last year. There was no fans, there was no pressure. Maybe they could hear the checks, they could hear the audibles, they could hear the communication for the offense more efficiently, which allowed them to cover up things. I don't know what it was. Maybe they changed the scheme too much. Maybe it's natural regression of players like Logan Ryan, who currently ranks as one of the worst safeties in the league. Like, what the hell happened to that guy? You know what I mean? Like, what happened to Logan Ryan in one offseason? No, he wasn't injured. I mean, maybe he's dealing with some injury that we're not aware of, but like altogether, this entire team is a complete mess. Maybe the loss of communication from Blake Martinez really hurt this team that we haven't even comprehended yet how big of a deal that was. But the reality is, we don't have a lot of money at all. And speaking of money, guys, make sure to go hit up our new sponsor, BUSR.com. Description, go hit it up, hit the link. Get that deposit, man. If you get $100 in that deposit, you get a free play. Yesterday, I bet $10 on a spread parlay, absolutely killed it. $10, I won $125. And I think it was on the Cowboys spread. I bet on the Rams spread. Of course, Rams against Giants. That was an easy one for me. Unfortunately. I also bet on, I think it was the Colts and the Packers, and ended up winning all of those spreads. $10 to win 125, easy money there. Make sure to go check that out. They're going to match any of your first bet up to $500. Literally going to give you free money. They're going to give you free money to go and make a bet. It's really simple, really easy. Make sure to go subscribe, and I'll tell you my bets. I think when the basketball season starts, I'll also tell you guys those as well. Also, we're going to be doing a $250 free giveaway. All you have to do is go sign up. So go to the description, sign up, $250 for free to go and bet to one of you guys. So go sign up. They're going to be randomly picking somebody. So, if you're one of the few people that sign up and actually start to use this thing, $250 free dollars, you could turn that into much more. Start saving up from Christmas with your winnings. But guys, make sure to go do that. And of course, Giants money equally as just embarrassing. And the saddest part about this, Anthony, in my opinion, is that Dave Gettleman has had the most draft capital out of any GM since 2017 to fix this team. And I actually think it might be worse now than it was when Jerry Reese was fired. I genuinely think that might be the case. The offensive line, let's talk about that for a minute. Against the Rams, you're going to freaking cry when you hear this. As a team, as a whole, they gave up 16 pressures, 10 hurries, and 5 sacks in one game. In one game. I mean, to me, that makes me feel absolutely terrible that we have to sit here and watch Wes Martin, the high school player, get dominated by Aaron Donald. Matt Pert has to go in and fill in for Andrew Thomas, who's been injury prone this year, and that's really unfortunate. Nate Solder, what a disaster that was. You know what I mean? Like, I think Dave Gettleman promising us that he was going to fix this offensive line and doing exactly the opposite is enough to get him fired at this point. After 3-4 seasons of him, Anthony, I think that might be the number one thing that I'm sitting here saying. He made a couple nice draft picks, made a couple of decent free agent signings at times, but the fact that he hasn't been able to fix the offensive line is the biggest problem that we're facing right now. And would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest problem that the Giants are facing. I mean, Daniel Jones was under pressure consistently last week. He was under pressure consistently every single game last season. The offensive line has been the biggest issue, and one of the reasons why I consider it to be the biggest issue of all of them is because Dave Gettleman, when he was hired, said, we're going to fix the offensive line. It's the number one thing. We got to fix the offensive line. And he hasn't. He simply failed to do that in every way. Sure, he got a really good young left tackle in Andrew Thomas. Love that pick. Great job there. Matt Parrott, he doesn't even let the coaching staff play him for some reason. Coaching staff barely ever lets him play. So when he does, he doesn't play well because he's not even used to playing football anymore. He's just practicing. And then, of course, Will Hernandez has not looked like a good selection at all. He's been a complete bust. Nick Gates did look good. He looked like he was growing into something, but unfortunately his career was cut short with injury. Well, not career, but his season was cut short with injury. And, of course, you have the left guard position that's just been a revolving door. I mean, Dave Gettleman has done nothing for that position. Sure, he drafted Shane Lemieux in the 5th round. Oh, yeah, and he traded away our best offensive lineman, cut our best offensive lineman, Kevin Zeitler, so that he could sign Leonard Williams. Just from top to bottom, the offensive line is bad. And it's really annoying because Dave Gettleman said specifically that was his number one priority, was fixing the offensive line, and he just hasn't done it. He's failed. So when you make a major promise to the organization and to the fan base like that, and you fail to deliver after 3 to 4 years, you deserve to be fired. That was your number one promise. I'm fixing the offensive line. The offensive line is not fixed, and it doesn't look like it's going to be fixed anytime soon. I know he put such an emphasis on fixing the offensive line in the 2020 offseason. So 2021 offseason, he just doesn't put any emphasis on it. Doesn't sign anybody, doesn't draft anybody. Screw it, whatever. Let's go in with all these young players that haven't really shown as much potential as they need to and just hope for the best. That's what Dave Gettleman did. And it just hasn't worked out. Of course not. Why would that work out? That's not how you build an offensive line in the NFL. I don't know any team that's ever just gone in with a bunch of 21-year-olds and expected them to come out and be all-stars. You need some established veterans. You need some good players. And the Giants just haven't done that. And it's not like they're drafting blue-chip offensive line prospects every year so you can go out there with a bunch of 20-year-olds. No, they're just signing guys or drafting guys in the 5th round and expecting them to compete as starters. That's just not how it works. Those guys need time to develop into capable backups before they become capable starters. And Shane Lemieux was never afforded that time to develop. So just generally speaking, Dave Gettleman and fulfilling promises, he doesn't do it. He does not fulfill his promises. This was his biggest promise, and he has failed to deliver completely.
On many different fronts. And just a quick FYI, I guess, the Giants signed linebacker Bernardic McKinney, formerly of Houston and Miami. They're pending a physical to the practice squad. Once a decent run stopping linebacker, now not even close. He's not even resemblance of his old self. The Giants once again trying to fill gaps with journeyman people who are no longer that good. Obviously, they see a problem with Tate Crowder, Reggie Ragland. They can't stop the run. They're missing serious depth at linebacker. They obviously haven't given Carter Coughlin much of a chance to fill that role yet. So bring in somebody else off the street. Why don't you? I mean, there's probably like 1,000 people out there that are 250 pounds they could bring in that would be better than half our team right now. But, I'm just getting just tired of the lack of accountability. Like John Mara has to be up there, right? So what told this is the most embarrassing thing and the most telling thing to me about how John Mara feels about, standing in front of our crowd now and being received by them. He wouldn't even go out there with the 2011 Super Bowl team, with the Super Bowl teams, wouldn't even go out there to stand with them as they got cheered. Right? Anthony, you and I were at the game when he came out for Eli Manning and we booed the crap out of him. Everybody in the stadium booed John Mara. It was hilarious and
Yeah.
well received by him because and that's why he didn't come out this time around, because he knew if he was going to go out there, he was going to get booed and he was going to make all the Super Bowl players look bad. He stood up
Right.
there in
And
his freaking in his box and avoided it.
to his credit, I don't know if he was necessarily trying to avoid the boos. I do think that he was trying to keep the boos from ruining the moment for the players specifically. He made the right decision in not coming down because everybody was gonna boo him like crazy, but also we shouldn't be booing in those moments. We should actually be celebrating those players. We should have been celebrating Eli Manning. Eli Manning didn't like to hear the boos. He told us to be quiet, but we can't help it. We see John Mara out center stage. You got to boo that man for everything that he's done to our organization. So he did the right thing in staying up at the booth, but I do think that he was doing that in order to protect the moment for the players. It's the only time I'm ever going to give John Mara some semblance of credit or respect, ever.
But tell me how embarrassing that is, because that really says to us he knows how bad his team is. He
He
knows
knows
that
he's terrible. He knows he's
he knows
terrible
he's
at his
terrible.
job.
He knows, and that's what blows
So
my
tell the
mind
team,
is when
dude.
you know. Well, yeah, but when you know you're bad at your job, don't you think that you would probably start to do things differently? Maybe say like, I gotta get rid of Dave Gettleman. I gotta bring in somebody with a modernized approach. I don't, whoever it might be. Here's the ultimate thing, in my opinion. It's a lot of nepotism within that family, which is good for loyalty. Good, they're very loyal to their employees, and I respect that. Very respectable thing to do. But when you're giving people that don't really deserve to be in very big roles, like player evaluation roles, like vice president roles, to family members who really don't know what they're doing, that's when you have a big disconnect here. The Giants, if they were to hire a third party to do a full analyzing of that entire organization, pretty much what they would find is that you have too much self-involvement in this team. You think you know more than the people that actually evaluate the talent. You think that, you have some sort of special insight. Anyone could have picked Saquon Barkley and seen he was going to be a monster, and he is a monster. Problem is, he's only played in like 32 games in 4.5 years. You know what I mean? He's missed 18 games. He missed more than a full season of play in 3 years, pretty much. So anyone could have seen that OBJ. Anyone could have seen that Saquon Barkley were going to be good players. Anybody. But it's the people that rounds 3 to 6, 3 to 7, that's where you make your money. That is where draft picks become the most important. Like drafting first round players, your probability of hitting on one is much higher. But if you can hit on a couple of guys in the 3 to 7 range, that's where you start to really see those value picks. The third round for the Giants has been an absolute shit show. An absolute shit show. Ocean Ximenez, non-existent. Lorenzo Carter, non-existent. BJ Hill, traded. He was a 4th round pick anyway. Like, those middle round players have done nothing. We've had to do the same thing Jerry Reese did. We had to spend ridiculous amounts of money to try and plug spots that our draft pick should have fixed. We missed Fred Warner by 1 pick because we picked BJ Hill and traded him for Billy Price. You know what I mean? Our evaluations, our player evaluations are failing us. Our scouts are failing us. The management is failing us. And Daniel Jones, they failed him. And that's the worst part. We have a player who could be that good. And I truly believe Daniel Jones could be that good on a better team. And I bet you some team is going to bring him in with some good players, a good offensive line, and he's going to actually play pretty well for somebody. You know what I mean? Right now, we are failing that man. We have failed the one guy we need to make look good. The Giants spent a ridiculous amount of money. And here's my biggest concern. I would have rather let Leonard Williams walk and signed two offensive linemen for the price of what he's making. Two starting offensive linemen at that right now. He's making what, 25, 30 million a year, or 20, like, I mean, his cap is 27 million next year. So let's say they had 15 million a pop. They could have signed Kevin Zeitler back to an extension. You have right guards filled. You have Will Hernandez at left guard, who's average, he can hold it down. You got Andrew Thomas, who took a big step. You got Nick Gates at center, and you can use that rest of that money to go sign a right tackle. And now we're looking at a line, barring injury, that's pretty respectable on paper. Right now, entering the season, Shane Lemieux was never good. I don't know why people use him as an excuse. People are like, Shane Lemieux is injured. He was shit last year. He was shit, okay? Stop convincing yourself that Shane Lemieux was going to be the savior of this offensive line, because even if he was average, which he probably wasn't going to end up being, we still would have been bad. You know what I mean? Because you got Nate Solder at right tackle, who's one of the worst graded tackles in the league right now. And the only reason he's playing is because Nate Solder is a New England product, and Joe Judge loves his New England players, and he's making $9 million per season, and they have no choice but to play the guy because they feel like shit sitting on the bench and paying him that much. You know what I mean? Like, this is a disaster through and through. A disaster. We spent no draft capital on offensive linemen this year, and Aaron Robinson and Ellerson Smith, our third and fourth round picks, haven't even touched the freaking field. And we drafted a running back instead of taking a shot on Trey Smith. You know what I mean? Like, we should have been taking chances on the offensive line. You can never have enough offensive line talent. Have you learned nothing from watching Dallas for 20 years? For 10 years, all they do is add offensive line talent. Let them grow behind their players. Keep adding them until you hit on them. The Giants haven't learned anything from the guys that are beating the shit out of them every freaking Sunday. Look at the team that you're beating the shit. Look at the Rams. Look at Dallas. They're beating the crap out of you every week. And you're not even looking at them and saying, what are they doing right? The Giants are doing the exact opposite of all of it. You know what I mean? Dave Gettleman looks at those teams and he says, they're doing something right. Let's do the opposite. Let's go do something wrong. Let's really mess it up here. Let's really, and I've been happy about some of the free agent signings, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I wasn't happy about them signing Kenny Golladay and whatnot, and I wasn't bullish on the offensive line taking a step forward, because I was. At the end of the day, that's not my job, man. My job is to sit here and reflect on the team and to talk about the team and what they're doing currently. My job is not to be a professional talent evaluator. You know what I mean? They're supposed to be doing that. They get paid millions of dollars to do that, and they're the ones failing. So we get to talk shit about them when they fail. You know what I mean? And Leonard Williams coming out here the other day or yesterday after the game saying that fans shouldn't be booing them at home. Are you kidding me? You get paid millions of dollars to win football games. We literally pay you to win football games. You exist because of us. That is the only reason you have a massive salary every year, because of the fans. We get to do whatever the hell we want. I will boo you to oblivion if you keep losing games. And Leonard Williams played a decent game yesterday, and I'm not even gonna lie. But it's the team. We're not booing Leonard Williams individually. We're booing the whole team for looking like a steaming pile of garbage. And that's how I feel. You know what I mean? It's a team thing. It's a coaching thing. The Giants have 22 coaches. They have the most coaches in the entire league out of any team. And they still look like a bunch of school children that don't know what is going on. They're holding their crayons and just drawing shit on the wall. You know what I mean? Jason Garrett, holy hell, that guy's got to go. His red zone offense is the most bland thing I've ever seen. You go out and you sign Kyle Rudolph to $8 million deal and you don't use him in the red zone? God help me. I mean, the guy looks like he's lost a step or 5. I mean, he looks terrible. He can't block and he can't run. You know, what did they see in him? And I don't, that's my thing. They did a whole physical for him. A whole thing. They tested him out and everything. And he looked like that, and they said he's worth that amount of money? What kind of talent evaluator do we have? What kind of people do we have evaluating the talent that we're bringing in? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make much sense to me, man. I'm really at a loss for words at this point. Like, every move they make backfires. You know what I mean? Every move they make. Like you said early on, why fix what's not broken on the offense? or on the defense rather. Why fix what's not broken? We changed the entire scheme, and we're looking at a unit that's bottom 5 in the league in points allowed per game. They've allowed 83 points through 2 games. 83 points. Who is to blame? Everybody. We have no outside pass rush presence. Our secondary is in shambles. Our linebacker core is weak and seriously thin. And we hit on that all offseason saying, behind Blake Martinez, we are a mess. There is nobody there that I trust. You know what I mean? Interior defensive line, we invested far too much. Patrick Graham once was a savior, changed his scheme. It's clear they're playing a lot more man coverage and it's not working. They have to rely on the bend, don't break concept. And I will say that the Giants got blown out by the Rams, but the offense turned the ball over multiple times in their own zone, in their own red zone. There was not much the defense could do. You know, like it was a full team meltdown. Someone's got to pay for it, Anthony. And who's the first person that has to pay for it? In my opinion, it's got to be Dave Gettleman.
It's Dave Gettleman. The Giants have to make a change. They need a modern, forward-thinking general manager, and they don't have that. In 2018, the selection of Dave Gettleman as the GM of the Giants is what damn does. That is why we're in the position that we're in. That is why we're losing games. You look at this team, you look at this personnel, and you can just tell this is not a winning team. Dude, I'm sorry. I hate to do it. I love Saquon Barkley, but if you're rebuilding a football team in 2018, you don't take a running back with a second overall pick. A lot of people said that before the draft happened. Everybody said, don't take a running back with number 2. It will be a problem. We will regret it. I think everybody regrets that, even if you do love Saquon Barkley. And I do love Saquon Barkley. I love watching him play, and I think that he's a tremendous talent. But you see the injury risks, the dependency risks that come along with a running back. He depends on the offensive line. He depends on the play calling. We don't depend on him. He depends on us. And when the team around Saquon Barkley is bad, so is Saquon Barkley. Not to mention, because the team around him is bad, he thinks he has to do so much and tries to do too much, and then it puts him in harm's way, and then he gets injured. Everything like that. It's just why you don't take a running back that early. And then you really just look at the whole team, the lack of depth that surrounds the cornerback positions, that surrounds the linebacker position, that really surrounds every position, the lack of depth, right? There just isn't any. And that's personnel. That's team building. That's the general manager failing to gather in enough talent to be a sustainable, winning football team. And so, yes, we are paying for the sins of Dave Gettleman in 2018 right now. That's what we're feeling. And we're feeling his sins for the whole time that he's been the general manager here. The first one to go, yes, it does need to be Dave Gettleman. But do I trust John Mara to hire a good general manager to replace him? No, I honestly don't. And that's why I feel like I don't have any hope. That's why I feel hopeless. I feel clueless as to what the Giants are going to do next. I don't even know if they're actually going to fire Dave Gettleman. They might just extend him at this point. I don't know what John Mara is thinking right now. Okay, so if they do end up firing Dave Gettleman, as many of us assume that they will, who are they going to hire? You think that they're going to hire some good, forward-thinking, progressive general manager? Probably not. They'll probably just go Bill Belichick. Who do you recommend? Then whoever he recommends, they'll hire. That's how John Mara operates. So really, the Giants, the number one thing for John Mara is for him to remove himself from football operations and find a new guy to bring in. Honestly, I think part of the reason that Dave Gettleman was hired is because he knew that Dave Gettleman wasn't going to overrun that front office. He knew that Dave Gettleman would come in and Chris Mara would still be safe. Chris Mara would still have a job. So he was like, okay, let's go with Dave Gettleman. Someone else might come in here, fire Chris Mara, put someone else in his position that's actually worthy of being in his position, and then my brother is out of a job, right? Okay, so that's why John Mara hired Dave Gettleman. That's my little theory about that, and that's the nepotism that I keep bringing up for weeks now, right? So if we bring in a new GM, what do you think that GM's going to do? You think he's going to be like, Chris Mara, I love what you've done with the team. Your personnel evaluation is phenomenal. You need to stay in that position. No, he's going to freaking fire him, and then we're going to actually have some progress be made because we're going to rework that front office, and then we're going to rework the coaching staff, and then rework the team in general. So for John Mara, the first thing that he needs to do, remove himself from football operations. Bring in a third party. Hire someone to be the VP of football operations who then hires the GM, and then the GM can go ahead and build this team. And it has to be a new, forward-thinking, progressive general manager. John Mara needs to go to the owners' meetings, go to the most successful teams and be like, please, I need to turn the Giants around. What do I do? Who should I hire? Give me some recommendations. Give me a third party to speak to. And then he can go ahead and move forward like that. Because there are owners' meetings, and the owners, believe it or not, do need to help each other. They do help each other because everybody recognizes this is the New York Giants. This is the pinnacle, the market for football, the market for sports, the market for media, entertainment, everything. This is New York, and it's the Giants. The owners will help John Mara turn this around if he asks for help. If he says, give me a third party to speak to so I can find a progressive, forward-thinking football mind to turn my team around, owners will give him recommendations. I promise you that. The owners that are actually good and know what they're doing. They will give him recommendations, and then we can get some progress. But it won't be until then. Until John Mara finds someone to take over football operations and he removes himself from that position and he de facto fires himself, it won't be until then that the Giants can actually turn things around. And once he does that, I don't know if he's actually going to do that, remove himself from that position, put someone else in there. I don't know if he will, but if he does, that's when the Giants will finally be able to turn things around and make some progress towards becoming a winning football team. That's my take on it. I'm going to stay with that. I don't know if Steve Tisch needs to get more involved and say, John Mara, you have to step back. I'm going to hire somebody to do what you're trying to do. I don't know what needs to happen, but something needs to happen because John Mara, yes, Dave Gettleman is the first to go. But John Mara really should be the guy who recognizes I'm the problem and it's time to put someone else in my position. He could still be the owner, but he just needs to hire
He needs
someone
a,
to
yeah,
be in his position and do
he's a
what he
president of
fails
operations.
to do. Exactly.
He needs, yeah, right. He needs to hire somebody so he can sit back and watch his team grow. You know what I mean? Just be the Jerry Jones, man. Just sit there, pay someone to do that, and enjoy your team winning. Is it that hard to do? John Mara, dude, you're not a football mind. You just inherited the team. That's like if my dad gave me a freaking football franchise and I suddenly think that I'm qualified to make decisions. You know what I mean? It's just it's a privilege thing. It's you think that you earned that right. You didn't, man. Like you have to bring somebody in here to manage the entire operations of this team, to manage the decision making. A third party that has no bias, right? It's a freaking boys club right now. It's an old dude boys club. It's John Mara, Dave Gettleman, Chris Mara. It's an old white dude boys club. Bring in some diversity. Bring in some people that know the game. Like it's a freaking friendship. Like it's unbelievable, man. It's like a playpen for people that don't know shit about football. And like I think that's the problem. Like they just want to hang out with their friends and they don't want to enjoy winning, right? Dave Gettleman and John Myers want to hang around and watch from the box and have some fun and drink some rum and cokes and not probably drink something better than that, but you know what I mean? Like they just sit there and they watch this team and like they just want to talk and have fun because they're friends. But the reality is they shouldn't be friends. This is a business. This is a winning thing. This is about, winning for the fans that pay thousands and thousands of dollars, millions of dollars every year collectively to, watch what hopes to be a better product. And they don't understand the mental impact this has on people. Like you said, Victory Monday, talk about losing Monday every single week. When we win, my Mondays are freaking awesome. When we lose, my Mondays are freaking terrible. And that's what I've kind of boiled down to at this point. Like, John Mayer doesn't care about our health or mental health. It's like he doesn't care about our mental health. Like the amount of therapy this man he should be paying for the fans right now. Like it's not even like he should come out here and at least talk, like at least like face the fire. He just hides behind the curtains, man. Like come out here and face the smoke. Guarantee that things are going to change. If he came out today and said, we are not good enough, things are going to change, I would be like, John, thank you for at least for saying that you recognize the fact that your team is a steaming pile of horse shit. You know what I mean? At least recognize that, because right now I get the sense he's hiding. He's like, he's like Gollum in freaking Lord of the Rings. That's hiding in a cave somewhere, eating a raw fish. Like, I don't even know. So at this point, guys, I think we've hit on a lot. I think we've expressed our frustration. I imagine most of you guys feel the same way. If you have any other additional points, please make sure to comment in the YouTube section because I'm curious to hear what you think. Also, make sure to subscribe below on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Make sure to sign up to the BUSR, our new sponsor. Make sure to sign up. You get free money, man. They're going to give you a free $100, $200, $300, $400, $500 to free bet. It's a steal. And then if you sign up, you also enter a contest to win $250 free dollars. They're literally giving you guys free money. So go sign up right now. I'll tell you my bets. You can DM me if you want to tag along. I'll even create a chat. Maybe I'll create a DM chat on Twitter if you guys want to get involved with my bets and we can win some money together. I think that's a pretty cool idea. So if you're interested in that, go do that. Hit me up on Twitter and we'll create something for us. So I think that would be really fun. But make sure to have a fantastic week. Don't let this dull your spirits too much. It's fall, my friends. Go get yourself a freaking pumpkin spice latte and forget about the worries of the Giants for a minute. Have a great week. We'll catch you guys on the next New York Giants video.